Hello and welcome to World News. I'm Randolf, Jamias for the latest stories. To start off, Indian President Pranab Mukherjee praised Indian Space Research Organization scientists on Monday for successfully launching SARAL from the Sriharikota spaceport in India's southern Andhra Pradesh state. Immediately after the productive launch of the satellite, Mukherjee hailed the efforts of the ISRO team by encouraging the organization to continue its work in the field of science and technology. The ISRO built SARAL is a 410-kilogram satellite with payloads Argos and Altica from France space agency CNES for study of ocean parameters towards enhancing the understanding of the ocean state conditions, which are otherwise not covered by the in-situ measurements. Meanwhile, in the U.S., a potent winter storm bore down on the U.S. southern plains on Monday, dumping more than a foot of snow and creating blizzard conditions in Oklahoma, Texas, and parts of Kansas, still digging out from a winter storm last week. Interstate and smaller highways in the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles and parts of Kansas were closed by the heavy and drifting snow that cut visibility and forced flight cancellations at airports across the region. The storm was slowly moving out of Texas Monday afternoon, while residents of Kansas City in turn were preparing for a foot or more of snow into Tuesday. Moving now to Australia, residents of Port Hedland on Australia's north coast prepared for a direct hit from a powerful tropical cyclone due to make landfall in the next 48 hours. Cyclone Rusty could strengthen to a Category 4 storm on a scale of 1 to 5 by the time it reaches the port, the Bureau of Meteorology tracking system showed. Very destructive winds with gusts to 195 km per hour were likely to develop in some areas as Rusty approaches the coast. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services warned residents in low-lying areas of Port Hedland to evacuate. In other stories, close to 50 beached pilot whales were discovered in southern Chile's Strait of Magellan on Sunday. Fishermen in the area were the first to notice the pod of short-finned pilot whales stranded ashore a beach about 105 kilometers south of Punta Arenas. After notifying the Chilean army, the fishermen worked to get as many of the massive mammals, most of which measured in at 6 meters long, back to sea. While the reasons behind whales stranding are still unclear, pilot whales are a species that commonly strand themselves on beaches around the globe. Male pilot whales, which are normally dark black and larger than their female counterparts, can grow to about 6 meters and tip the scales at as much as 3 tons. Still on animals, this time in Mexico, agricultural officials said on Monday nearly 900,000 chickens at chicken fattening facilities have been culled to stem outbreaks of a highly pathogenic bird flu virus at several farms in the central state of Guanajuato. The Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Rural Development, Fisheries and Food, Enrique Martinez said climate change provokes sanitary problems such as this one. Mexican authorities have noted that the virus is exclusive to birds and do not pose a risk to people. Health officials are on high alert for new viruses in Mexico since the 2009 outbreak of H1N1 virus known as swine flu that shut down the capital city for several days when it was detected in humans. In the animal world, there is a new species of dolphin. Scientists are now full blast in discovering and protection of what is known as snubfin dolphin. Let's find out more.
The snubfin dolphin is a mystery to science. It inhabits the warm waters of northern Australia, but little else is known about the animal. It was described as a new species only 8 years ago.
Previously it was thought to be the Irrawaddy dolphin, which is a species that occurs in Asia. So we just recently discovered it, and it's actually endemic to Australia. It's found nowhere else in the world.
Isabel Beasley from James Cook University wants to know more about the snubfin. It's extremely rare, but without more data it cannot be listed as endangered and cannot be protected under law.
No idea on where it occurs, why it occurs in these areas, or what may be the main threats in some of these areas.
Beasley fears the snubfin may be vulnerable to such human-induced threats as habitat degradation, overfishing and bycatch. Joining the mission are indigenous sea rangers like Phil Rist.
In a lot of ways we are the eyes and ears. We live in this. This is our, the Girigan area is the homelands of 9 traditional owner groups, and we've been here for thousands of years.
We're hoping that this project can contribute more information, particularly on broad-scale distribution, that can contribute to actually being listed as a threatened species.
And if they can do that, Beasley says, the snubfin dolphin stands a better chance of long-term survival.
Let's head to Laos. An endangered species of crocodile are being saved from extinction. Wildlife Conservation Society is now finding ways to preserve and protect from extinction the Siamese crocodiles, known to have only 250 left in the world. Here's more.
Clamoring to be free, these 18-month-old Siamese crocodiles will soon get their wish. 19 reptiles are being placed into a holding pen next to a lake in southern Laos. Alex McWilliam from the Wildlife Conservation Society says it's part of a gradual grassroots effort to restore the animals to their native habitat.
The young crocodiles will stay here for around the next 2.5 months, and then once the water comes up in the wet season, the crocodiles will swim their way out once the water has got high enough over the top of the pen.
The Siamese crocodile is critically endangered. Only 250 are believed to exist in the wild. It's been hunted for its skin and forced from much of its habitat in Southeast Asia by human encroachment. But now, with these young crocs born and raised at a zoo, conservationists are trying to bring the animals back.
Today, releasing 19 of them back to the wild is quite a significant contribution both to the global population and also to the Lao population as well.
Launched in 2008, the conservation plan depends on local volunteers to monitor the animals and ensure they stay in the district's lake. The villagers subsist on fishing and rice farming and say they happily coexist with the crocodiles.
The crocodiles in this village have never attacked people. They're rather afraid of humans. When we work in the swamp, we sometimes see them surface, but they never bother people. They don't harm anyone.
Locals have raised 4 crocodiles of their own from eggs found nearby. They too will be released into the wild, part of a broader effort not only to save the species, but educate the next generation about the importance of a balanced ecology.
And finally in sports, Roger Federer surprisingly dropped the first set against little-known Malek Jaziri on Monday before putting the Tunisian upstart in his place with a 5-7, 6-0, 6-2 win to reach the second round of the Dubai Championships on Monday. Afterwards, Federer, who has announced he plans to take a 2-month break after Indian Wells in March, agreed he had been struggling at first. He suggested he might have put too much pressure on himself. Top seed Novak Djokovic was in action on day 1 with his brother Marco, but their doubles adventure ended in round 1. They were beaten 4-6, 6-3, 10-4 by Nikolay Davydenko and Dick Norman. And that concludes today's World News. Thanks for the company and see you again.